So a lot of times people will get a gun that just for whatever reason they connect with very well. For me, the Steyr has been that pistol. Now, obviously, I've been a big fan of the M9 and the L9, and this was a great opportunity for me to get to try out the M40. Again, all you have to do is contact Steyr and tell them you want to test drive one of their guns, and they're awesome enough to send it to you. So for me, when I had the opportunity to get one of these in my hands, I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to shoot it as well as the M9 or the L9. And surprisingly enough, the recoil, while definitely a bit snappier than the 9, turned out to be just an enjoyable day to shoot. And for whatever reason, I just shoot these guns really well. All right, guys, welcome back to the table. And on the table, you see two Steyrs that have been field stripped at this point. On the left, you see my M9. You guys know I've done about 1.5 million videos on this gun. I absolutely love it. This thing has about 4,000 plus rounds through it, and it's never had one single failure, no issues at all. It's just been a great, reliable handgun for me. On the right, you see something that Steyr sent to me, but not because I'm special, but because I requested it. And that's one of the interesting things about Steyr is you can actually contact them and request them to send you a pistol, and then you can actually take it for a test run, so to speak. Obviously, you have to return it, and if you don't, then they charge you. But it gives you an opportunity, because most gun shops probably don't carry these guns. It gives you an opportunity to really take a look at it and shoot it for a while and keep it for a while, and then decide if it's a gun that's worth keeping. My opinion, if more people knew about that, then they probably would be more apt and to wind up, taking that risk, and then hopefully eventually buying the gun, because again, these guns, in my opinion, are just fantastic. So this video is really just a comparison between the M9 and the M40. Now, obviously, there's not much of a difference between both handguns. As a matter of fact, you can see all the internals are about identical. I mean, there's no difference here. The rails are the same width. All the innards are basically the same. Now, one of the things you have to realize in regards to the Steyrs is that these guns are actually modular. They never really, I guess you could say, took shape of this. But technically, whatever you see here, you could actually take these pieces out. As a matter of fact, it comes out as one whole unit, just almost similar to a SIG, which is kind of interesting because they actually wound up suing Sig Sauer for, I think it was a copyright or patent infringement or something. And I think Steyr won, but don't quote me on that. But basically, you can take out the entire part, the entire assembly inside, because this is actually where the serial number is and everything. So again, exactly like a Sig Sauer. And you can actually switch it from one frame to the next. So I think that's kind of cool, the modularity portion of it. But again, there really wasn't the availability of the frames. So whatever frame you had was the frame you had, and that was it. And hopefully with the introduction of the M2 now that's coming out, hopefully that'll change. So hopefully they'll be able to say, okay, you know what, we now have this piece that comes out, and of course now we're going to have different sized, grips, or you should say lowers to the handgun, which would be kind of cool. Now, obviously, there are some little things that I've done to this gun that I haven't done to this because I own this one and not this one. But you can see I put that brass insert in there from Ranger Point Precision. Fantastic addition. Adds a little bit more muzzle weight to the front. So it makes an already flat shooting handgun even flatter. So I got to say it's just a great improvement. Now, again, with the interesting part of this is a lot of these things fit the M40, but also fit the M9. And one of the things that I wanted to show you is this is a 40 cal magazine. As you can see right here, here's the M9, and it goes right in, no issues. And it ejects, as a matter of fact, if, let's see, which one is the slide? This is my M9 slide. Okay, you can see it's back in there. There's the magazine, and it locks back. It's really cool. I mean, it's just really an interesting feature that you can run a 40 mag in the M9. And interestingly enough, let me see if this is it. Yep, this is my 9mm magazine. And there's the M40. It's a little wiggle room there, but not by much. Again, would I run a 9mm through this? No, unless I had the 9mm barrel and the slide on it. But just to show you what I'm talking about here, on how reversible all this stuff is, here's my 9mm slide. And that's on my M40. It fits perfectly. So basically, everything is reciprocal. So it's pretty neat. So you could, here's my 9mm mag, and there you go. It fits like a charm, no issues. It'll actually run, which is kind of cool. So again, that's one of the beauties of this handgun. Again, could you get away with that on other handguns? Possibly. Again, this is just what I'm finding with the Steyr M9 versus the M40. Now, in regards to some of the other things, and I'll kind of show you the barrel here. This may take me a couple of minutes because I have a special little guide rod in here. But that's my M9 barrel, and here's my M40 barrel. So obviously, your M40, it's got a thicker barrel. All right, that should be expected. It's a bigger round. It's a little bit fatter. And then here's the 9mm barrel. So you can see there is a difference in the width or the diameter of the barrel. So that's kind of cool. Now, in regards to, which one is this? This is my M40 right here. I'm going to throw the M9 barrel in there. And you can see there's a lot of space in there. You know, definitely probably wouldn't want to run that barrel, as it probably would not run reliably at all. And then this is the 9mm barrel back in the M9. You can see it fits just right. So even though the slides can work on the grips, you got to realize that, you know, your 9mm barrel will not function in the 40 barrel. And even if it does, I wouldn't recommend it. I think you'd have, hopefully not, but possibly a catastrophic failure in there, which would be a bad day for anybody who's shooting this handgun. Now, in regards to everything else, you know, again, everything fits the way it should. There are no issues between the 9 and the 40. Let me just get this set up for you. This is the lack of editing on this video is awesome, isn't it? So basically, when we take a look at the gun basically features all the other features that you've seen on the M9. Again, it is such an easy gun to operate. It's an easy gun to take down. Your takedown lever here is again, very standard, slides right off, no trigger pull necessary. Then you just have to, you know, put it at about a 45-degree angle, rock the slide back, and it goes back into place. So, I mean, other than that, it's been a fantastic experience handling a Steyr. I've had no issues, like I said. Now, what are my feelings about the M40 versus the M9 in regards to recoil and just how I shot it? Well, it's a 40, that's for sure. If I was going to tell you didn't feel a difference in recoil, I'd be 100% lying to you. Obviously, with the M40, you're going to feel a little bit more of a snappy punch to it. And one of the things that I noticed on this versus the M9, which, you know, maybe not be a negative thing necessarily, but when I was pulling the trigger on the gun, I felt a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say trigger bite, but almost like a shock to my finger. As a matter of fact, when I was pulling the trigger, I felt a lot of the felt recoil actually in my trigger finger, not necessarily in my wrist, not necessarily in my arm or my hand as a whole, but actually in the trigger. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was one thing that I immediately noticed in regards to the difference between an M9 and the M40. Other than that, you know, the felt recoil, while it was a little bit punchier, I think is a good way of saying it. It wasn't anything that was uncontrollable. Now, my overall shooting experience, while it may not have been the best compared to, like, let's say the M9, I felt it was reasonably okay. Again, this is really, I haven't shot a 40 in years. And there is a difference. And if people are going to say there really is no difference between a 9 and a 40, that might be their case. But for me, I definitely noticed a difference in the way the gun shot. Now, would that make me not want to own this gun? No, it wouldn't. If you're a fan of the 40 cal, honestly, this is a great feature, or I should say a great offering, because of the fact that you have such a much lower, if you want to call it slide height, bore axis, whatever you want to go, with term-wise, but at the same time, because your hand fits so far underneath that slide, it is a very manageable feel. You know, the initial couple of shots I had it was different. It definitely felt different, but at the same time, it wasn't anything that, you know, made me say, "Oh my God, I can't handle the gun." It just was a different experience. Now, in regards to, you know, obviously some of the complaints that I've had on my past videos in regards to Steyr, the biggest complaint again is going to be this texturing or lack thereof. There just really is nothing there to get a good bite on. Fortunately, because the gun sits so low into your hand and so far back, you don't really necessarily have to readjust your grip every single time you're shooting, because I've seen that sometimes with people when they're shooting, they're constantly readjusting, re-squeezing. You know, I try not to do that. I try to keep it a pretty good even strength, or I should say an even grip as I'm shooting it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, that very natural feel to where your hand lays on this gun is just excellent, which I think helps in mitigating that recoil considerably. Now, you know, overall, you got your trapezoidal sights. So again, no difference there. Hopefully one day we'll see some trapezoidal night sights, but I don't want to bet on that. But overall, it's been a great experience having these guns. The M40, in my opinion, if you're looking for a 40 caliber handgun, is definitely a great choice to have, just based on the fact that it has low recoil. It's an easy gun to shoot. I just think it has an abundance of really positive things. Now, in regards to trigger pull, I know that one of the biggest complaints for Steyr, or I don't want to say anti-Steyr people, but people who are kind of curious about the gun, has been the lack of reset. Now, when I look at this gun, the trigger is just ridiculously good. And this again was not fired until I got it. So I only put, I think I shot like 300 rounds through this. And the trigger right out of the box is short. I mean, the take up on this gun is just ridiculous. You know, if you're looking for a really short take up, you can't go wrong with this. And you can see it's very little movement and then it breaks. Again, your reset, guys, if you're into that, is right there, and a very nice short secondary shot. Now, the reset has been the biggest cause of complaints for people about these guns. There really isn't a tactile reset. It's not even very audible. But again, I always argue that, is that really necessary in regards to, I guess, most practical purposes? Sure, I know there are some people out there saying if it's in a self-defense situation, you want the short take-up, but you also want a short reset to get quicker shots on target, plus more controllability of the handgun. So I get that. I understand it. But at the same time, I don't know if it's necessary. Again, I don't know. I can only speculate on that. But in regards to the take-up, it's as short as you're going to get. I mean, I don't think I have a trigger that has that short of a take-up unless it's an Apex or something of that sort. And really, the trigger pull is very smooth. It's very easy to get that trigger back. And again, the reset, it's right there. It's where the original trigger gets to the wall. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. I don't know if it's a negative or a positive. I just know that this gun is super easy to shoot no matter what caliber it's in. Now, in regards to the trigger pull weight, and again, this is 300 rounds later. And, you know, by all aspects, Steyr triggers take about, I'd say, about 500 rounds before you start to see the trigger drop. So here's where the trigger is right now. Oops. Get that. So you got a 6-pound trigger, and I'll do that one more time. It's a little bit higher than normal. So about 5 pounds, 12.9. So we'll see what the average is after 2. So it's close to 6 pounds. And again, that's out of the box. That's 300 rounds into it. But I will tell you, over time, the trigger gets buttery smooth. You know, the reset on the M9 is about the same on the M40. But here's the trigger pull on the M9 that has several thousand rounds through it. So you can see the reduction. I mean, we're talking 4 pounds, 1.3 ounces. And just to do it again, it's a very, very consistent pull, by the way. And then you have about 3 pounds, 10.4 ounces for an average of about 3 pounds, 13.9 ounces. Now, this is an unmodified trigger. This just has a boatload of rounds through it. And that's why I say, you know, sometimes we get into this idea that trigger reset is the most important thing. But again, the smoothness of that trigger on that first pull, secondary pull, third pull, fourth pull, so on, so forth, I think is as important as that reset. And I really think the Steyr, no matter which one you get, M40, M9, L9, whatever it is, the triggers are always just really nice out of the box. So, you know, again, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. You know, if I could get everyone to own one of these, I'd be very happy. Not because I get paid by Steyr, but because I really do believe in these handguns and I think they're just that good. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. I mean, do you think the M40 is a worthy addition to your collection, especially if you like that 40 cal? And if not, I'd love to know why that is. So I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.